really embarrassing. I don't know where Malcolm is. We came from another hotel and there's lots of people in the street. The traffic is terrible. We came separately. I don't understand why. So I'm in the hot seat, aren't I? And then of course when he arrives, you'll go bananas. Okay.
Time machine, doesn't he?
So,
Yeah.
let's talk about film. You had just done, I believe, Airport 79.
Oh, yeah. I think so. I can't remember.
One of the cast of millions in that.
Yeah.
As those were. How did the part of John Leslie Stevenson come to you kind of?
Yeah, that's a strange question. No, I mean, I think I was seen by Nicholas Meyer and the producer in some other work. I don't know, maybe The Omen or one of those films that, you know, sort of were quite popular at the time. I think we made time after after The Omen, yeah. But I can tell you one thing, who Warner Brothers really wanted to play Stevenson, Jack the Ripper was, I'll give you 10 guesses, no you won't get it, Mick Jagger. There was a big fight between, they wanted Mick Jagger, and there was a big fight between Herb Jaffe, the producer, and Nick Meyer, and fortunately for me, I got it, you know, which was great, but they did want Mick Jagger. Can you imagine?
I think that Nick Meyer has said that he just didn't see Mick Jagger as a high street doctor or surgeon. He didn't think he could pull that off.
But he could pull Jack the Ripper off, I imagine. But not a surgeon. I didn't know that, you know.
Jack the Ripper, although we don't obviously know who he really was, is based on a fact. Did you do any sort of research?
Not a jot. There's no point. You know, there's a script there and somebody called Jack the Ripper and that's it. I'm not very good at doing research. Maybe that shows in some of the stuff I've done. But, you know, how do you research? I don't want to talk about other movies. We are time after time. But how do you
Well, we have a
research?
little time to kill.
Oh, he's here, thank God.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's join me, I'm Malcolm McDowell. Thanks for coming out.
Yes, there's a lot of traffic.
I said that, yeah, I mean, that's my excuse too.
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm fine, darling.
Have you guys been on a panel together and talked about comics at the time since?
No, thank God.
No,
Jesus, what's there to say?
Yeah, well, I had been asking Dave about how the part and time at the time came to him. You had just finished doing a little movie called Caligula.
Yes, I was in, when this came out, this movie, what was it, 1980, I was in the best, the top 10 movies, which was Time After Time, and the worst in the same year. The other one was Caligula. So I think that's quite a record. I'm very proud of it.
And we wanted to maybe talk to you a little bit about how the part came to you, because honestly, when I saw the original ad for it, and said Malcolm McDowell and Jack the Ripper and H.G. was, I was like, oh, Malcolm's playing Jack the Ripper.
Yes, well, this is, thank God you're not the head of the studio. I mean, no, of course one would expect me to play that part, probably. But, of course, as David will attest, we're all actors and we all have, you know, various strings to our bow. And I was thrilled to be offered the part of H.G. Wells, actually, because I'd been doing this movie for a year in Rome, which is not bad, except the movie was Caligula, which was an adventure all in itself. And I think I've spoken about that here, so I won't go into that anymore. But I was thrilled when David, you know, when he was cast as Jack the Ripper, because And I'm going to embarrass him now, but I've always been a tremendous admirer of his work. I think he's one of our great actors in England. And yes, and I think, like all really tremendously talented artists, that, you know, he's not an obvious actor. He hides his craft brilliantly well, and he never appears to be acting. Now that, of course, is the mark of a really great actor. And for the ones that don't really know, of course, they like to see people chewing scenery. And you know, I've watched him. Well, I was walk-on in his Hamlet, you know, when David was a huge star. And,
I knew you'd start there. Because as you were happened, I was just for about 15 minutes.
No.
And then the whole thing changes. And I'm very glad too, by the way.
No. Yeah, sure. The thing was that David was, you know, we're speaking of this, we're filling in the background of our relationship and where we come from, and you know, the fact that we are friends and have been for 50 years, which is a tremendous achievement in itself, that we're still upright. But you know, to be at Stratford as a kid, you know, was David was a kid himself, but you know, he was thrust into the limelight playing this, you know, this sort of new kind of way of doing Shakespeare or whatever it was, I don't know, but it was the sort of post-Beatles era, and he was all tied into that by the press, of course. I'm sure it was a shock to him, oh my God. But, you know, he had throngs of young girls waiting outside the stage door. And because he and I were sort of friends, even though I was a lowly fellow, David was always very nice to me, and always had that sort of twinkle in his eye. And so I used to follow him out of the stage door and inquire which of these young girls, they weren't that young, would he like to have a drink with, you know, after the show. And by the way, darling, who's your friend? So thank you for that, David. Is
that how you met your first wife?
No, darling, no. Good God, no. Jesus, is this alcoholic?
By the way, you must say, who else was in that cast?
Which one?
Hamlet.
Oh, yes, go.
You tell, who else was in it?
Well, Estelle Kohler.
No, I meant another guy. Well-known Star Trek guy.
Oh, you mean, oh yes! Bill Shatner was in that. Oh, Baldy! Oh, God, yes! Well, as I like to say, he was what, 23? He was playing old men even then.
Sir Patrick Stewart, we're talking
Oh,
about.
I'm having a pardon. Yes,
He had a slightly bigger role than you did.
Oh, he did. What did he play?
I can't remember now, but it was so small.
But it was a brilliant play.
No, he was wonderful, actually. And so were you, darling.
Yes.
Enough of that. Should we be getting back to Time After Time?
Oh, who gives a rat's?
Oh, right.
Well, you had a very good time on that movie, didn't you?
What?
On
Which
Time
film?
After Time.
Oh, yes. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
I met a few. We haven't met for about 5 years, to be honest, until
Yes.
this big event here. And so, but I do get messages from Malcolm by our friends. Now, when we were making, I want to know. He uses a phrase about when we were working together on Time After Time, and I want to explain. He's told people that I was his wing man. And I want to know what that means.
Explained it.
No.
I just explained it. You know what it is? You come out of the stage door, all the girls are screaming, and I go,
No, I'm talking about Time After Time.
No, I don't give a rat's about Time After Time.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no. This,
I-
you got me into a lot of trouble on that day.
You did it all yourself.
Of course, time after time means different things to me as they do to him. To me, of course, because I did that movie, I basically got 2 children from that. Because, of course, I married Mary Steenburgen, who was brilliant in the movie, and a beautiful... Thank you. I'll follow your applause with that. When I speak to her next year, yes.
Malcolm, if you had gotten any souvenirs from the set besides Mary Steenburgen?
Really, there was no other souvenir to be had. But we were very quiet about it, except David claims to have known.
No, I did. That's the whole point. Would you? This is where look. We don't want to go into this. It's a very private thing here. No, we don't want to go into it. So no. Well, I mean, I'm getting quite upset about this.
Anyway, it was
I mean, it was pure Hollywood, wasn't it, love? But it was in San Francisco.
It was lovely.
Yes,
I love that city. It's a beautiful city. And of course, we had Nick Meyer directing, and you're a friend of Nick. Are you?
I worked with him afterwards. Yeah.
What did you do?
Star Trek 6.
Oh yes.
But then this is about time after time, not about my Star Trek.
But
You have a Star Trek
please
career.
talk. Well, I'm the one who killed Kirk, darling.
Were you being directed by him? Is that what happened?
Everybody's directed by Shatner. What's new about that?
I didn't hear you, Malcolm.
But no, listen, it's nothing I wouldn't say in front of him. I love the old podge. No, he's a sweetheart. Come on. And he's 82. I think he's the most remarkable actor. I really do. He's had an incredible career, and he's had, Patrick Stewart is the one that should get down on his knees and thank him, because it was rumored they were getting $10 or $12 million for Star Trek the movie, and it was all really because of Shatner and Leonard, who really kept that franchise going, and they were brilliant in it. They really were. You may be interested. Are we going to talk about this?
No, it's time after time.
Come on, man. You talk about it. I've had enough.
No.
You're just sitting there making the odd comment. Well, tell us a story.
Well, I can't remember it.
No, of course not.
A long time ago.
It's been a while.
You better take over.
I have a couple questions written now. And
Oh, good. Are these your questions?
yes.
Oh, this is good God, man. Jesus. Your will and testament.
I have to be remembered for something, being your second fiddle in 2 minutes. I wanted to ask you, though, about, and I asked David before you went there.
Oh, thank you for waiting, by the way.
They were getting restless.
What, the natives?
About preparing to play H.G. Wells.
Yes.
And if you've done any research, I think that you had, you've talked about, you found a recording of his voice at some point.
I didn't find it. I called the BBC archives, and I asked them if they had any recordings of H.G. Wells. I thought, normally I don't do research like that. It's very American sort of method thing, but am I right, David?
Well, I would say we don't do too much research, do we? That's the answer. Whether it's American or not, I don't know.
Anyway, Daniel Day-Lewis, Jesus, he lives with a musket. So, what did he do when he played in My Left Foot? He had a whole year of dribbling.
He won 3 Oscars. I should, be quiet about that.
Oh yeah, well, if that's the way to do it, I suppose. Anyway, what were we saying?
Do you prepare? Do you do research?
Oh, yes, thank you. So, Carl, your memory's good.
I'm younger than you.
Not much. No. Anyway, they sent a recording of H.G. Wells from a radio interview in 1928. And I swear they have told this story, some boring old story. Anyway, I put the record on in great anticipation, thinking this character I was about to play is going to reveal itself. And from the crackling of this radio interview on a 78 recording came this southeast London high-pitched whine. So H.G. Wells, he talked like that. And I thought, how the fuck am I going to do that? What the hell is he playing at? So I decided just to play him with my normal English accent.
You mentioned earlier San Francisco and how much you like the town. It really was kind of a character in the film with you guys. There was so many iconic locations there.
Yes, I think they squeezed most of them in. And a memorable one, well, we had a great chase sequence, as I remember, and the whole night we shot outside the rotunda, what's it called? The
Exploratory.
Fine Arts building.
Palace of Fine Arts.
Thank you. Palace of Fine Arts. To give it a... anyway, so we were running around all over the place, weren't we? Yes.
Certainly was.
I was running after Mary all over the place. That's a different story.
Well, this is where I come in.
Oh, Christ! I knew we couldn't keep him down for long.
No, we won't go there.
Oh, no, go on.
No.
Okay. I think they want to hear about your character. Woo! Jack the Ripper.
No, we discussed that. I didn't do any research. And it's all instinct. It's all in the script and the direction.
You hope.
Well, I mean, that's not for me to judge. I mean, they're all sitting here having seen it, and I assume enjoyed it. I don't want to get into an argument with you about it. All right?
I love the film.
No, so good. So that's
Yeah. No, good God, man, if we made a few more time after times, we'd have a sparkling career, would we not?
yes, because it was all pretty downhill.
From there on in.
Seriously, what happens in seriously, yeah, you can make a film like Time After Time, in which I'm really, really proud to have been in, and also working with Malcolm, and Nick Meyer, and Mary, and everything.
Yeah,
and I think it is rather a special movie, but at the time it really didn't take off, did it? I mean, it's a cult movie now, you all love it, I assume, but at the time, it didn't really hit.
No, it was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
And you know, I was really quite worried about why it was, and I asked to see the studio, the questionnaire that they put out for their marketing, because I thought they marketed the film very badly, because they made it a sort of chase movie about Jack the Ripper and, you know, being chased, which I thought was a misrepresentation of the film. So when I read these things that the studio had prepared for the public, like as yourself, to fill in, they said things like, have you ever heard of H.G. Wells? No. Have you ever heard of Jack the Ripper? Yes! Right. So this is a Jack the Ripper movie. Now, this is insane because, of course, it's a very important element, but the whole film is not a chase movie. The film, and it's not a gory movie in any way, so Jack the Ripper fans would go to see the movie and be disappointed. It's a love story, and that's how they should have sold the movie. And because they didn't do that, the thing fell flat on its face. And it was really sad because I saw it with a couple of audiences at the time, and the theater was jam-packed, and the audiences absolutely loved that movie. I mean, and when it didn't take off, I was absolutely amazed that they'd screwed it up. But, you know, they do it all the time. So what else is new?
Yeah, and that's the same. But it's interesting because, I mean, we've done other movies since which also didn't do too well at the box office at the time, but have kind of become cult movies.
Yes,
The
thank
movies
you.
that people do remember, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, yes, well...
But not commercial box office, which, you know, makes you into a $20 million man or whatever.
Yes, yes, yes.
In my last will and testament here, is what has not been pointed out.
Right, yes.
I made a note that I think is pertinent.
By the way, how old are you? It's nice to see you again. 4 years. Good God, and you're still sat here asking questions.
Never let me go. My note is about what I believe the movie is, and I think it's essentially a story of optimism versus cynicism acted out by two men outside the society they were reflecting on. And I wanted to ask you both. Ask you both what message from this film still resounds with you. The one with me is your line of the first man to raise his fist is the
Oh, I'll go for that. He's quoting lines. I never remember lines.
I wanted to ask what.
Yeah, no, but what was his line?
The first man who raises the fist is the man who's run out of ideas.
Okay. I suppose mine was clicking the old on the television in the hotel.
It's a great scene. That's a great scene.
What was it? 100 years ago, 90 years ago, I was a freak watching all the violence going on. Today, I'm an amateur.
Oh my God, man!
Nick Meyer. Yes. Okay.
You guys.
Good.
We're professionals.
Look at Sherlock Holmes.
In Nick Meyer's book,
Yes.
View from the Bridge, he said making Time After Time was the most fun I've ever had in the daytime. Would you guys agree with that? Isn't that fun all the time, making the film? There's a story he wants you to tell you.
Well, of course, you know, I had a great time.
But yes, but talk about filming them.
Oh, that? So, were we filming?
Not that, no.
You know, listen, I think it's very evident from the movie how, you know, my relationship with Mary was continuing nicely. No, I think we had a great time shooting it, you know, and for me it was really nice to have David, you know, cast. Oh, by the way, I heard that you are putting it around that the first casting idea was Mick Jagger.
Me?
Yeah,
Oh,
for you,
yeah.
for you.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
Jesus, well, what happened? Mick Jagger? And then David Warner. What the hell happened?
Actually, I promise you that's true.
No, come on, darling. Mick Jagger couldn't act himself out of a paper bag.
That's why he didn't play the part.
Oh,
Well, there you are.
did he do a reading or something?
No, I wasn't there. No, seriously, that's
Really? Is
Yeah,
that
Warner
true?
Brothers wanted me to. I told them.
Oh, you told him already. Yeah, well, I should get here earlier. Well, of course, he's told all his stories now about this film. So
Oh no, I haven't, but I'm not going to do so now.
Well, go on, let loose. Give it a go. All right, done. No, we had a lot of fun. Got any more questions? It was great fun, and you know, and Nick, I think it was his first film as a director. I think he did a very good job. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Nick said I remember on the very first day of shooting, he did say, look, to the crew and to us, he said, look, guys, I've never made a movie before. This is my first directorial effort. And he said, so if there's anything you want to advise me to do or anything that you can help me with, please do so. Which I thought was a great way of just relaxing everybody and saying, if he makes a mistake, he didn't mind somebody telling him. There are some first-time directors who think they know it all and sometimes make great mistakes. At least Nick did that. He did say, please give me ideas, which I admired him for. You know.
Were there any scenes that you guys maybe cut or that were in the script that never made it to being filmed that you wish had stayed in the movie?
Well, there always are, but I can't remember what they were now.
No, same here, I can't remember. Well, I mean, some are devastating when you make a movie and your favourite scene just isn't there. But I don't remember that happening.
No, I don't think. I think that the only things that were really changed were things to do with plot about, you know, why wouldn't she wake up or something? Why would she oversleep? Or why would she take tranquilizers at a time like this when the murder is on power? Which I have to say is stretching it a little far, but there you are. You know, as my friend Lindsay Anderson would say, he would say, Malcolm, do you believe that the pumpkin turns into a carriage? And of course you do believe it because it's a fairy story and that is what you believe. So, and that's the way that we're asking people to suspend belief, I think, in the plot points in Time After Time. But, you know, I don't think it's a big deal. I think, and you know, there are some beautiful scenes in it. My favorites being, I think, you know, going to McDowell's, that famous Scottish restaurant. And maybe the scene at the end I love too, and the scene with you in the Palace of Fine Arts.
Right, we're getting into the time machine and all that.
Yeah, running into that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
But I agree with you that the film is a love story.
Yes.
And the whole point of Jack the Ripper is to consolidate these two people getting together.
That's it,
And
exactly.
That's, you know, as I say, it was missold, as you just said. But
which is a great shame.
Wonderful love story.
It is.
Yeah.
And especially a man coming from another era. A man who was one of the first, well, he was a socialist and, you know, believed in equality for women at a time in the Edwardian era when that was not a popular belief. I mean, you know, the suffragettes and all the rest of it, women had to fight for their rights even to vote, you know, and same in America. I know it's the same story, but so H.G. Wells was a visionary in a sense. You know, he was our Ray Bradbury or our Jules Verne, the English Jules Verne. I think it's the closest thing you can say to H.G. Wells in terms of who he was and his importance. You know, he was a very extraordinary man and quite a visionary and wrote some wonderfully visionary books. And well, I was sitting in Rome when I got the script of Time After Time, wearing just a diaper. I was about to go out and do the business with a bride and the groom. And thank God I read Time After Time and I realized I wasn't a porno actor. I was a real actor and I had something to look forward to.
That's great. I'll tell you what, why don't we go ahead and take some questions from the audience. We've got a microphone set up over here, I believe. So if anybody in the audience has questions for Malcolm and David, please come on up. And
Yes, only intelligent ones, please. Okay, well, nobody there, so...
Hi, Mel.
Hello.
This is off topic, but is Franklin and Bash going to be renewed?
I don't know, darling. Why, do you know something? I'm in a show called Franklin and Bash. I know you don't know anything.
No, it's true.
I just heard that they hadn't made a decision.
They haven't made a decision, but if you all write in, maybe that will help it. I don't know. I think we're on the cusp of being cancelled.
Do you enjoy
I don't know. I love it. Of course, I have great fun. Yeah.
It shows.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for mentioning that. Okay.
Hi, Malcolm. Could you compare what it was like working on Time After Time to working under Kubrick?
Well, do we have a week? Well, look, Kubrick, as we all know, was an extraordinary director. I mean, I was a very young actor and thrilled to be working with such a great man. You know, he was a great intellect, and what sets Kubrick apart from all other great directors, in my view, is that, Kubrick made masterpieces in pretty much every genre. I mean, it wasn't like John Ford, who I consider to be the greatest of all, but John Ford mainly made great westerns. Of course, he made other movies too, but he's known mainly for his westerns. Kubrick, he made the greatest science fiction movie ever made. It's a masterpiece, and it's one of the greatest movies I think ever made. And he took science fiction from cardboard sets, Flash Gordon, the Millennium Jump to 2001. I mean, an extraordinary achievement, And I think that he made, the greatest anti-war movies. And also Clockwork, I think, is a great movie, and Kubrick wanted to make a small budget movie, and Clockwork Orange was his answer, because the studios didn't trust him to bring movies in on budget, and 2001, because he was inventing the technology. It cost 14 million, which is way over 100 million today, and it brought down, the regime at MGM Studios. They were all, they lost their jobs because of it, because of that movie, and it didn't make money for many, many years. So, there's me. I get to work with this great man on really this amazing book written by Anthony Burgess, who often gets lost in the shuffle, but it was Burgess's vision, not Kubrick's, even though Kubrick made a brilliant movie. And, it's very, very hard to take a real classic book and make a classic movie. And I think this is truly one of the moments where that happened. But, so there you are. Clockwork Orange was a momentous time in my life, as was Time After Time, but for completely different reasons.
Well, for both of you, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you coming and sharing your time. And I also wanted to say that my brother and I, when we were very little, we used to watch Time After Time religiously. We got it on VHS, and we would continue to watch it over and over again. It's one of our favorite movies ever, so thank you so much. And my question is to David. My brother loved the scenes with the pocket watch. When you would open the watch and it would play the music, and of course that was the prelude to a murder in the movie, but he just found that piece of, the little watch to be so fascinating. And I wanted to ask, first of all, I know that you said yesterday in a panel that you do not keep any mementos from movies, but did they offer you the watch after the movie, or do you know what might have happened to it?
No, they never offer you anything. Sometimes you can offer to buy clothes for 2/3 the price of the original. No, it was not offered to me. I've not seen it since. One thing though, I have to say, I haven't seen a movie for a long time. The close-ups of the hand opening and looking at the watch wasn't my hand. Who was that giving something away? I think they shot those sort of close-ups. No, I certainly was never offered the watch. I don't know if you
Just nicked it.
What was that?
I said you should have just put it in your pocket.
I should have, yes.
Well, just about a week ago, I watched Time After Time for the first time in quite some years, and it struck me a little strange that, did it strike you a little strange as well that H.G. Wells, who was a writer, was pursuing a notorious criminal across the bounds of time?
So your point is? Besides the fact that you have a nice melodic voice, what is your point, sir?
Well, what I meant was, even though H.G. Wells passed himself off as Sherlock Holmes to the local police, he really wasn't a police detective, and so does it seem kind of a strange idea?
But he did have the key for the time machine. So get over it! Don't be such a killjoy! Are you wearing a kilt? No, we don't worry about stuff like that. Yeah, next question.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm doing your job.
I wanted to say, Mr. Warner, that I yelled out loud when I saw on the Dragon Con webpage that you were going to be here. So I've always enjoyed doing that.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm a bit deaf. I really am the microphone.
Me too,
Thank
it's
you.
okay.
Thank you. But do say it again, please.
Mr. Warner, I was so excited.
What she said was, she's fed up with you, and thank God this is nearly over.
So my legitimate question is, so since H.G. Wells was a character in the movie, do either of you enjoy H.G. Wells' fiction, and if so, what are your favorite pieces by him?
Well, I really love this recording. They're really great. I have to tell the truth. I find H.G. Wells rather difficult to read. Do you?
Yes.
I haven't started yet.
I'm sorry about that.
Let's take it to someplace a little different. Did either of you guys see the George Powell Time Machine before you made it?
Fabulous movie, which I just caught about a year ago. So no, I didn't see it before. But the thing is, you don't want to be seeing stuff beforehand because you're not going to be copying. You're going to come, obviously, with a fresh look at something, and as David said, we are very instinctive, both of us actors, I think, and we have that in common. And we work on our instinct and what we are given in the script. And what the characters had for breakfast, we don't give a crap. It doesn't help us in the scene. We know instinctively, we look at the scene, we see where the scene is going, what's important, what the moment is. The moment may not be a line of dialogue, by the way, it could be between the dialogue, between the lines. And, when you work with somebody like Lindsay Anderson, he teaches you, whether you want to learn it or not, that you get to these moments, you clear them simply and put them into focus, deliver it simply and move on. And that's, I think David is a great exponent of that, and I like to think I'm along there with him. We have that in common, I think, don't we?
Yes, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I've never thought about it before, but anyway, as we're talking about
yes,
it.
absolutely.
Of course, another thing we hate to do is
No, I
dissect it.
have to say though, I really envy certain actors who can do master classes in acting. I actually envy that. Whether you know, it's impossible to talk about the process of doing
Yes.
the role.
Well, it's like you asked Tony Hopkins. He goes, "Well, darling, it's just acting, isn't it? It's just acting." You go, "Yes, but he played Richard Nixon." "Oh yes, it's just acting." Bloody good acting, I'd say. Yeah.
My question is for Malcolm. Actually, when I was younger, I had a bad dating history because every time I would introduce whoever I was dating to my parents, my father would show them Clockwork Orange. And they weren't interested in me after that, so I was wondering, is that a problem with my dad or with the
Obviously, he's a sick man. How did you possibly survive that?
I didn't really start dating until college because of
Well, sorry about that. I mean, fancy showing your son's girlfriend a Clockwork Orange. Sounds rather interesting. But that's my warped sense of humor.
Thank you all for coming to Dragon Con this year. I wanted to say, I remember the movie so perfectly, I memorized so much of it. So David, remember you can always say to him, "It's checkmate and you've lost the game."
You goofed again, was it?
No, you said that at the end of the movie, "HG, it's checkmate and you've lost the game."
Oh, right, well, we're in the machine.
Right.
Yes.
That was a guess, by the way.
Yes. And that boy who goes, "It's him! Oh, look, it's him!" in the museum, turned out to be a famous actor. Who was it? There you go, Corey Feldman. Yeah, that was the famous actor. I think he's a bit more famous than that. Have you ever heard of him? No. Have you?
Actually, I have heard of it.
Well,
Because I must say, I was working once, and somebody said, "Are you an actor?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Do you know Corey Feldman?"
Oh my God. It is a sick world we live in. Yes.
Which brings me exactly what I was going to ask you, Malcolm, and you, David. You have to understand the story as actors, of course. The most key lines of the story. In the early part, when your friend said, "Why are you going to the future, HG?" "The future, because I belong there." Well, okay, then you get into the future, you meet him in the hotel room with the TV, and then he shows you everything that's going on. You try to say to him, "Be serious, John, we don't belong here." He said, "No, I belong here completely. I'm home. It is you who don't belong here."
Well, Jesus. I found looking at the DVD. He's even got the accent. Very good.
I have a question.
Yeah, that is the question. So there your character was thinking everything was going to be so perfect, and then he finds out he was all wrong. So how do you feel about the whole thing and that? It's like he sort of completely shatters his whole dream and what he invented.
Well, at this point, I really don't give a monkey. No. But it is true. Of course, serial killer like H.G. Wells would feel. Thank you. 5 minutes. Of course, Jack the Ripper would be very at home in this modern society where, everybody's toting guns and God knows what else, and crime is at a record level or whatever, and there's gangs on the streets. So I think you would feel at home, right?
Absolutely, even more so today, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's take one more question and then we'll have to wrap it up. So you can ask.
Okay, this is a bit of a philosophical question for the two of you. Both of you are known for your very villainous roles, very frequently downright evil characters. You've played them a number of times. I was wondering, in your experience from having done these roles, how do you now on the understanding to do these roles, how do you guys now define, what do you define evil as, personally?
I'll translate in a minute. He wants to know what we think evil is, and do we play a lot of evil roles? All that, that old question. First off, I'm going to speak for David for a bit, and then he can chip in. But we are actors. We are not here to moralize on the parts we are given. And my God, the majority of great roles in Shakespeare are murderers. So what the hell are you talking about? I mean, if we were to make moral judgments about the characters we play, well, I would never work.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I played my share too of villains, etc. And there did come a moment where I said, no, I can't play them anymore. I just don't want to.
Was that 10-year gap in your career?
Yeah, because you're put in that pigeonhole. Huh?
That's exactly right.
And so when people say, oh my God, you played, I'm going to mention a couple of things like Bob Cratchit in Christmas Carol. People were quite surprised that I played a simple little character. They were quite surprised. And when people come up, kids come and say, are you ever going to be a good guy? Why are you like that? I got a bit bored with that. So I really have taken recently taken a rest from that.
Have you?
Yeah, because I don't feel affected playing it because I'm not a method actor. I think sometimes the reaction you just want to just sort of say no.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, a friend of mine wrote this book it's called The Communist Who Ate Children. And it was about this character, Chikatilo, this Soviet serial killer who literally murdered over 100 people, children, was a pedophile and a cannibal. And of course, I said to him, look, I encouraged him to write the screenplay of this book and to direct it himself, because I thought that he had enough talent and he just needed a little push. And of course, then he offered me the part, and my heart sank because I thought, oh, they'll never get the money. They'll never get the money. For this, there's nothing in it redeeming whatsoever. And of course, I'm sitting at home, the phone goes, darling, we've got the money! What? Well, when do we shoot? Well, we start in 2 months. I go, oh, I can't. I'm doing a Bob Altman film. I'm so sorry. I won't be able to do it. Hang on. Click. Calls back. We've moved the movie. We do it now in 6 months. Jesus, I gotta do it. And I was so depressed about having to play the serial killer who's a pedophile and a cannibal. What else is there? It's all in one part. And so before I'm leaving to go to Kiev in the Ukraine, and I'm saying to my wife, there's not even a restaurant there. I'm going to play this horrible person, and I'm not even going to be, fed good food. Anyway, I get there, and of course, I found a way to do it, and I realized, what the hell am I making moral judgments about this man for? This is what he did. He was, of course, totally psychotic. And when I did the film, weirdly enough, it was called Evelenko, and it's a very interesting movie. And actually it becomes a statement about mental health. That's the weirdest thing. Because it's not a slasher movie about serial killers and all that. So, anyway, that's a long answer to a very short question. But anyway, there you are.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Well, gents, that wraps us up. Thanks so much for coming. We really appreciate it.